Welcome to Storytime for Grownups from the Ashland branch of Pamunkey Regional Library. My name is Carolyn, and our story today is an excerpt from the book Shoeless Joe by W.S. Kinsella. We'll be starting on page 249. This book is published by First Mariner Books. Here we go. I have spent close to 2 hours explaining to Richard, my brother, what has happened to me since the voice of the baseball announcer first whispered, "If you build it, he will come." But finally I arrive at the spot where I became bogged down like a car struck in sand. Richard, what would you do if you... Well, you know, Dad played semi-pro baseball in Florida and California. What if he made the big leagues? Richard sits on the other side of the insect leg table in his camper. The tension lines between his brows are deep as ditches as he frowns at me in the orangey light. I stumble on. What if you had a chance to meet Dad? To meet our father? You mean you brought him back to life? Like you brought Shoeless Joe back to life? Well, not me, but somehow he's out there, Richard. Not like we ever knew him. He was 25 years old and he's catching for the White Sox. And he has his whole life in front of him and he doesn't know about us. But I can't see it, your ball field, says Richard. Though Gypsy can, and I know she wouldn't put me on about something like that. In front of the camper, the part that rests over the cab of the truck, I can see Gypsy's slight form curled up on the bed like a child, like the remnants of a 13-year-old who ran away from her parents' home in Kellogg, Idaho, and discarded layers of her identity in secret places all across the face of America, in the process becoming very wise. The silence is long, and I'm beginning to feel ill at ease when Richard says, I'd go to him. I don't know what I'd tell him, but I'd become his friend, Ray. You know, people toss around the phrase, heaven on earth, but it seems to me you've gotten a lock on it, Ray. Play it for all it's worth. Heaven on earth indeed. I think of virtually nothing else for the next day. Karen is home, a bit subdued. The near loss we faced with her yesterday has affected us all. We seem to be more concerned about each other after having had our mortality waved in front of our faces. At the ballpark, Annie snuggles against me, her small hand inserted flat inside my shirt, her fingers warm on my chest. Gypsy leans close to Richard, whispering to him a play-by-play of the action taking place in the field. Often she jumps delightedly and cheers, then slides back down next to Richard and stares up at him with that ironic smile, so full of love, and tells him what has happened. Salinger has been preoccupied all day, and his eyes are far away tonight as he sits and hums absently, tapping one large hand on the knee of his jeans. What he's humming makes me smile, for it's an old carnival tune that Richard and Karen use when they love to chant the song. Later in the game, Salinger suddenly taps me on the arm. "I've had a dream," he says when I turn to look at him. "I know how things are going to turn out, Ray." "Things?" I say. "The farm. Listen, it will be like this." He moves down and sits in front of all of us, his back to the game, so he can deliver a lecture like a professor with 5 graduate students. "It will be almost a fraternity, like one of those tiny, Exclusive French restaurants that have no sign. You find it almost by instinct. The people who come here will be drawn. He stops, searching for words. Have you ever been walking down the street and stopped in mid-stride and turned in at a bookstore or a gallery you never knew existed? People will decide to holiday in the Midwest for reasons they can't fathom or express. They'll be off to Iowa. They'll turn off I-80 at the Iowa City exit. Drive around the campus, get out and stroll across the lawn, look at the white columns of the old Capitol building, have supper at one of those tidy little restaurants, then decide to drive east for a while on a secondary highway. They'll watch the hawks soaring like Chinese kites in an early evening air. They'll slow down when they see your house, Ray, and they'll ooh and ah at the whiteness of it, the way it sits in a cornfield like a splotch of porcelain. They'll say how beautiful it is and comment on how the flags snap in the breeze. At this point, they won't even realize that the flags fly over a center field. They'll be hypnotized by the way the corn sways in the breeze. They'll turn up your driveway, Ray, not knowing for sure why they're doing it, and arrive at your door, innocent as children, longing for the gentility of the past, for home camp reserves, for ice cream made in a wooden freezer, for gingham dresses, and black and silver stoves with high warming ovens and cast iron reservoirs. Of course we don't mind if you look around, you'll say. It's only $20. And they'll pass over the money without even looking at it. For it is money they have, Ray, and peace they lack. They'll walk out to the bleacher and sit in shirt sleeves for the perfect evening. Or they'll find they have reserved seats somewhere in the grandstand or along one of the baseball lines. Wherever they sat when they were children and cheered their heroes in whatever park it was, whatever leaf-shaded town in Maine or Ohio or California. They'll watch the game, Ray, and it will be as if they have knelt in front of a faith healer or dipped themselves in magic waters. The memories will be so thick that the outfielders will have to brush them away from their faces. Squarish cars parked around a framed schoolhouse, blankets covering the engine blocks, memories of Christmas carols drifting like tinseled birds toward the golden wash of the northern lights, women shelling peas in linoleum-colored floored kitchens, cradling the unshelled pods in brindled aprons, tearing open corn husks and waiting for the thrill of that cool, sweet scent. People gliding over the snow in an open cutter. The smell of a general store, coffee and oil all mixed up. I don't have to tell you that the one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball. America has been erased like a blackboard, only to be rebuilt and then erased again. But baseball has marked time while America has rolled by like a procession of steamrollers. It is the same game that Moonlight Graham played in 1905. It is a living part of history, like calico dresses and stone crockery. It continually reminds us of what once was, a good reminder, like an Indian head penny and a handful of new coins. I'll bet some of the men will be dragging along little women in flowered house dresses and high heels who see nothing and whine about sitting on a backless bleacher for 2 hours. But then they'll watch the game. As Jerry speaks, a car turns off the highway, and in the twilight, zippers up the long driveway toward my house. It is a black Chrysler with the scorched gold license plate of New York State. You talk a good dream, I say to Salinger. Behind me, I hear cars. Oh, I see it. Richard and Gypsy will be there selling tickets to the ballpark. Karen, my little half-pint, will be at a child-sized table, chanting the carnival litany, trying to sell people to see the exhibit. They'll shake their heads tolerantly and walk on toward the baseball stadium where the lights blaze furiously. I dream of things that never were, says Jerry. I spot a car with Ohio plates. I am smiling convulsively. Whoever controls the strings must be chuckling, treating me like the heroine in The Perils of Pauline. By midnight, if the cars keep arriving, I'll have more than enough money to bring the mortgage up to date. I'll go and see what those cars want, says Gypsy. What cars? Says Richard. The game tonight has been a double-header, and when it is finally over, Richard and I walk out on the field. My fists are clenched, my tongue a piece of rock chipping against my teeth. As we make our way toward the plate, I see the catcher. My heart is caught in my throat. The catcher has been talking to Chick Gandil. He looks at us and smiles, and I can feel my heart shatter. But I do not die. I admire the way you catch a game of baseball, I say. I don't hear his reply, which is spoken in a gentle voice and accompanied by another smile. It's the same as Richard's smile. My smile, just a little off-center, showing teeth crammed together like passengers in a crowded elevator. Jerry's behind us somewhere. Jerry's been eulogizing about the lost past and the purity of baseball, and I'm counting the cars, looking at the fans that accumulate around us on the bleachers and fit into the phantom stands like baseballs tossed into a sea of baseballs. I feel as if I'm watching a war movie in which a nurse is removing that last bit of bandage from a soldier's eyes. Will he see? Will he see? Will she see? I look at the spectators. My father stops speaking to Gandil and looks at us questioningly. I admire the way you catch a game, I say a little louder. Slowly, hesitantly, my voice is filled with awe. As the three of us walk across the vast emerald lake that is the outfield, I think of all the things I want to talk to the catcher about. I'll guide the conversations, like taking a car around a long, gentle curve in the road. And we'll hardly realize that we're talking of love and family and life and beauty and friendship and sharing. And I think of Gypsy waiting for us, clutching the handful of bills that will act as the cement to keep the stadium solid, the past present, and permanent as the game it houses. Thank you for joining us today for Storytime for Grownups. We hope you've enjoyed this story. Look for us again next month when we will read a new story, something entirely different. Do you have a special story you'd like to hear us read? Please let us know at the Ashland Branch Library. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.